When we walk into our cluttered home, a wave of guilt and shame can wash over us. We can feel embarrassed by the mess, disappointed in our inability to keep things organized, and even judged by other people. And on the surface, it might seem like these intense negative emotions would serve as a motivator for us to clean up and get organized. But for most of us, it's quite the opposite. Shame can actually paralyze us and make the task feel even more impossible. It can really prevent us from moving forward and from making any kind of substantial progress because it increases our feelings of hopelessness and helplessness. So today we'll be talking all about the vicious cycle of shame and clutter and how to finally break free so you can take control of your home again. But first, if you're new here, my name's Nina. I help people to declutter their minds and their homes using practical applications of psychology. So if that's something that you may find beneficial, don't forget to hit the subscribe button down below. But let's go ahead and jump right in. And I need to start by stressing the fact that clutter is more than just a physical mess. It's also an emotional burden. When we look around at our cluttered home, we can feel overwhelmed, stressed, and ashamed because in our mind, this clutter represents our failures and makes us feel like we have absolutely no control over our lives. Shame in particular is an unbelievably powerful emotion that really can paralyze us and prevent us from taking action even when we have a sincere desire to change. So even though we may feel embarrassed or ashamed of our clutter, we may still avoid dealing with it altogether because the very weight of our own self-criticism may feel too painful to face. And so after a while, this just becomes a vicious cycle. So the more we feel ashamed, the less motivated we are to declutter. And the more we avoid decluttering, the more shame we accumulate. And in the end, this cycle ends up trapping us in a state of inaction and self-judgment. And honestly, until we address our shame, making progress with cleaning or decluttering is going to feel very difficult, if not impossible. And that's why it really is crucial to start to recognize if this is a pattern in our lives, because at that point, we can begin to overcome it and finally set ourselves free. And before we move on to talking about strategies for doing this, I firstly want you to know that if you struggle with clutter, you are not alone. According to a 2021 survey by the National Cleaning Institute, 42% of Americans say they live in messy, cluttered homes. This is not a unique problem, and there are real solutions for overcoming it. So if you do feel hopeless, please know that you are not. And while overcoming the shame that we feel for having a cluttered or messy home can feel a little bit challenging at first, it is an absolutely life-changing and rewarding journey. So let's go ahead and talk about some actionable steps that we can take to help us break this cycle of shame and to finally create a more peaceful and organized living space. The first thing that we need to do is to acknowledge and accept our feelings. Trying to suppress or ignore our emotions really only makes them stronger. It only increases our pain. We have to recognize that while shame is a natural human emotion, it doesn't have to define us, and it is possible for us to overcome it. Now, the second step is to challenge negative self-talk. When we notice that we're engaging in negative self-talk and self-criticism, we do need to challenge these thoughts and to replace them with more compassionate and realistic self-statements. So for example, if we always tell ourselves something like, I'm so lazy and disorganized, maybe we can try to replace these statements with something like, I am committed to creating a more organized living space that reflects my values. Now, the third thing we need to do is to practice self-compassion. Treating yourself with kindness and understanding really is essential for overcoming shame. So remind yourself that everyone struggles with clutter from time to time and forgive yourself for past mistakes. Simply focus on making progress, no matter how small it seems. Now, another thing that can be extremely helpful is to identify the root causes. Understanding the underlying reasons for our clutter can help us to address them more effectively. So are we overwhelmed by work or family obligations? Do we have difficulty making decisions about what to discard or what to keep? We can ask ourselves these types of questions, and it can be very, very insightful. Now, if after doing this, we determine that our clutter is related to deeper issues such as hoarding disorder or ADHD, we can also seek out professional help. A counselor or a therapist can help provide guidance, support, and help us to manage these challenges. I also have a full-length video all about the psychological roots of clutter that may also be a beneficial resource, so I will go ahead and link that down in the description box below. Now, the next thing we need to remember is to set realistic goals. Don't set yourself up for failure by trying to do too much too soon. We will get overwhelmed if we use this strategy. It's better to start with small, manageable tasks that we can simply build up over time. So we can start with maybe one drawer, one bin or shelf per day and only commit to working for about 15 to 20 minutes. Remember, any progress at all is progress. Now, if it's possible, we can also seek support and make it more of a team effort. If the option's there, we can enlist a friend or a family member or a few of them to help us with the actual decluttering process. Having someone there to encourage us and support us, especially at the beginning, can make all the difference in the world. It makes the process go a lot faster, but it also makes it seem a lot less daunting and a lot more enjoyable. One of the most essential steps, however, is to create a clutter-free routine. We need to establish daily and weekly routines to help prevent clutter from accumulating in the future. And this means we need to develop some brand new habits. But it doesn't have to be intimidating. It can be very, very simple. It can be as simple as setting aside 10 to 20 minutes every single day for light decluttering, or just trying to make sure that we put things back right after we use them. We have to remember that habits really are the key to meaningful change. And lastly, we need to reward ourselves for progress. Celebrate your achievements because this positive reinforcement really does help with motivation, and it also helps us to boost our self-esteem, which can help us to stay on track with our decluttering goals. It also helps us to replace our feelings of shame with feelings of pride and accomplishment. Also, please know that overcoming shame and creating a clutter-free lifestyle does take time, patience, and self-compassion. So please remember to be kind and loving with yourself during this process. With consistent effort, you will be able to transform your home and finally break free of this cycle. And if overcoming clutter is something you feel like you need a little bit more support in, I do have an entire playlist of over 40 videos designed to help you with exactly that I will go ahead and link down in the description box below. As always, I truly hope you found today's video to be helpful and insightful. If you did, please like it, share it, and definitely become a subscriber if you aren't one already. I want to thank you so much for investing in yourself today, and I hope the rest of your day is extraordinary.